Good morning. My name is Alza. I'm your host for Family Matters, brought to you by Men Are Part Solution, or MAPS. MAPS provides counseling services to individuals through our Healthy Relations program, as well as providing transitional housing services through our Phoenix House programs. With us today is Leo Moose. Leo, for those who joined us last time, was one of our guests at our last show. At that time, Leo was talking about his experience at the Phoenix House, but today we will be having him have a conversation with us about his residential school experience. So, Leo, welcome back once again to Family Matters.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. So, Leo, first of all, why don't you tell everyone where did you grow up?
Uh, I was raised up and I grew up in South Indian Lake.
Right, right.
I was raised by my grandparents.
And South Indian Lake is about 4 hour drive from Thompson.
Yeah, it's about 4.5 hours.
Depends how fast you drive.
How fast or the conditions of the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, growing up in South Indian Lake, how was that like? What are some of your early recollections?
For sure, I had a beautiful upbringing as a child. When I was living with my grandparents, it was heaven for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the greatest education I got was from them, not from residential school or normal elementary school, about who I am and about survival, about building your own house and stuff like that. My grandfather taught me. I worked with him.
Oh, okay. So did he for hunting, fishing?
Yeah, he was a hunter, a fisherman. He had a trap line all the way in Sealerville, which is a long ways from South Indian.
Right. How long did your grandparents were they also born in that area?
I would imagine so. They were born somewhere in the bush. Like I asked my dad one time. I asked, "Dad, where were you born?" He said, "I don't know, son. I wasn't registered for a long time. I was born somewhere in the bush," he said. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So how your experience with your grandparents from childhood until how long did you stay with them?
Well, I stayed with them till the last one was deceased.
Okay.
And after that, I went on my own.
So when you talk about the education you got with your grandparents, and they mostly had to do with how to survive on the land, how to survive in the bush and so on. Uh, when were you taken away from that?
I was taken away in 73 when I lost my grandmother.
And how old were you then?
I was turning 13.
Okay. And where were you taken after you lost your grandmother?
I was I was taken to the PA, then to a residential school that was called Guy Hill in those days.
Okay, and where is that located, or where was that located?
It's located in the outskirts of the PA, Manitoba.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why were you taken away when your grandmother passed away? I assume your grandfather was still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why was that the trigger that had you go to residential school?
Um, I wish I had the right answer for it.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it's not only me. There's other people out there in other reserves that still have that question. Why?
Your grandfather, when he found out you were going to residential school, what was his reaction?
He had no understanding of what was going on. The only thing they thought that they were doing good for us, which was later on not the case.
And your grandfather thought the same thing too? Like what was his opinion at that time about residential school?
Well, he didn't have a clue what residential school was.
Yeah.
You know, that residential school. I don't think majority of the people knew what it was.
At that time, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. For me, it was totally something new.
So for the children that were sent off, they didn't know where they were going either, and the
No,
parents, no.
they were confused, lost.
You were 13 at the time, you said, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So when you went off to school, what are some of the first experiences you had when you arrived?
When I first arrived, I uh, I got a haircut. The first thing I got, because I had long hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so right away that had to come off, which I knew right away it wasn't. I didn't feel right.
So when your hair was being cut, did you tell him no? Did you say no, I don't want that?
None of us could say no. There was a long lineup of everybody getting their hair chopped off.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't only me. There was a majority of us.
And after you got your hair cut off, what happened after that?
Basically, that's all they did to me. My first thing was just to get rid of my hair, take a shower,
Hmm.
get changes of clothing, show me where I'm going to sleep, where's my locker for my clothes. That was my first introduction.
Leo, what is your birth name?
My birth name?
Yeah, but the name that you were given at birth, was it Leo? Was there another name that was given to you?
Oh, no, just Leo.
There's Leo?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the name that you were allowed to keep, assume, when you were at school?
Yeah,
Okay. So everyone will refer to you as Leo then.
yeah.
Okay. So your first week in classes, what did they try to teach you when you first went to class?
Well, it's like they had high expectations from us.
Mhm.
It's like we were supposed to know what they're giving us automatically, which wasn't the case.
Was it stuff like math or what? Uh, was it a history? Do you
It
recall?
was a majority of things.
Oh yeah.
Some things you could figure out a little bit, but you know, sometimes when you keep asking questions, they think you're stupid.
The teachers, were they professional teachers, or were they from a church? Uh,
Those teachers, I didn't see nothing professional about.
no,
Okay, I'm sorry to say that.
no. So tell me about what your thoughts were about your teachers.
Some of my teachers were helpful.
Hmm.
Not saying they were all bad, but There were some that had high expectations. I'm supposed to know this. This is the kind of school I went to. This is the kind of books I got. No, that wasn't. That wasn't what kind of school I went to.
What kind of communication were you allowed with the other kids in your class?
The the one thing I couldn't do, what's the most powerful tool of mine, was to speak my language.
Okay.
I get punished right away.
So when you say you got punished, in what way?
Punishment, there's so many ways, like physically and emotionally.
Yeah. S- So when we talk about the emotional part, was it um, the way they talked to you? They yelled at you? What were some of those things that they used to try and stop you from speaking your own language?
They'll scream at me,
Hmm.
uh, take a yardstick on me,
Yeah.
make sure I don't speak again, but it didn't stop me.
No.
No.
What were some of the things you saw happen with the other kids that you were in class with?
We had a strong bond together.
Hmm. Do you still see some of these kids that you in school with?
Well, I'm very fortunate. I see a few of my friends here in Thompson that I used to go to school with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And lots of them are deceased, and fortunately, lots of them are haven't heard from for years. I hear a few of them are in the institution. They're all over the place.
We're going to take a short break, but we are currently talking to Leo Moose. He's talking to us about his residential school experience. The show is brought to you by MAPS. Men are part of the solution, and this is Family Matters. So, Leo, continuing with the experiences you had, how long were you at that school for?
3 years.
3 years. Okay, so that would be what, grade seven, eight, nine? Were was there a grade system at the school?
I'm still trying to figure that
No,
out.
no.
Yeah.
You didn't have a grade system. Oh.
And,
It's interesting when you first mentioned to me that you start school at 13. That's one of the thoughts that came to mind. I was trying to think with my own son. He's 10, and he's just finishing grade 5 right now. And I was doing a mental calculation. I was saying, oh well, that probably would put you in about grade 7, grade 8. But I never actually saw any place I read that the grade system that they had at residential school, if they had any.
yeah.
So you spent 3 years there. What do you think were some of the impact on you from those 3 years that you were there for?
The impact, uh, uh, there was a lot of emotional, physical, disbelief. There was a lot of things.
When you say disbelief, what do you mean by that?
I, um, I had a problem with people with authority. There was that I had a hard time
Hmm.
trusting.
And this had to do with the teachers and how they treated you
Yeah.
at the school.
Hmm.
During those 3 years, Leo, how often did you get to see your grandfather?
Not very often.
Were you allowed some time to go home and visit?
Tell the truth, I don't remember coming home. For any special occasions, no.
Did your grandfather, was there a way for him to be able to contact you?
I think all of us that went to residential school were totally shut off from the outside people that we knew.
Yeah. So when you say about the long-term impact, was part of that based on your connection with your family? Did that Was there an impact there after you're done at school? How well were you able to come back into your to South St. John Lake at the time? Uh, did you go back there or did you go somewhere else?
No, and then after I got there, I never went back there.
Never went back?
Yeah.
Was that a choice that you made or was that just circumstances?
Well, in in a way, I got stronger and smarter. Try to get some messages out. My letters were always interfered with, so I noticed people are going to school MBCI. So the letters I started writing, I gave it to them to mail them out in the paw.
Hmm.
Instead of me going to the office and drop it off there and maybe it'll never go out. There's certain letters that I send out that I never got a response back, so it didn't take me long to figure out what was happening.
So you lost that connection with your community over the 3 years.
Hmm.
How about some of the personal impact on you? Mentioned that challenges with people in authority. What were some other things you felt was affected you from those 3 years?
I, excuse me, I had to personally work hard on myself, work with the anger, the trust. I had to regain that with people around me.
Who were you mostly angry with?
Well, to look back now, it's the people that knew what was going on
Hmm.
didn't do nothing or say anything. And for a fact, I think there was a lot of people that knew. Even the government.
Yeah.
Maybe even the Pope knew.
How did you deal with your anger?
My anger?
Yeah.
By staying focused, what future am I looking at? What can I do to myself to help my kids, my grandkids?
You mentioned some of your friends that were at school with you, and some of them were in jail, and some had other impacts on them. Tell me a little bit about that. What did you see was some of the impacts on some of the people you knew from their time there?
There was maybe one or two people came out positive. I don't know. I would like to think so, but the majority of the people that I personally knew that I was there with, I think we all went through. Say we made mistakes down the road, but what was driven by us by negative things and the anger and the mistrust. And personally, I think that had effect on me. And maybe there's other out there. I'm pretty sure there's other people out there.
I forgot to ask you, Leo. You said that you were there for 3 years. Is there a reason why it stopped after 3 years being at the school?
It was kind of funny when they told me that I had to go home because both of my parents were making a good salary, which was so funny. And it was not true, but hey, that's beautiful. I'm going home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um, we will be continuing our conversation with Leo at our next Family Matters show. You've been watching Family Matters, brought to you by MAPS. Thank you for joining us, and we will be having Leo back at our next show to finish off our discussion with his experience at the residential school. Uh, Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.